Hey guys, and welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be giving you my review of the Smiler roller coaster at Alton Towers Resort. So I've been wanting to do this review for a while now, just because I've got so many opinions about it and I wanted to share them with you guys, and what better way to share them than in a review. So if you're new around here guys, please smack that like button, click that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a single video. So without further ado, let's get straight on into it. So if you're new to one of my roller coaster reviews, I rate roller coasters based on separate categories. A roller coaster can score between 1 and 5 points in each category, and there is a total based on what a roller coaster scored in those 5 categories. Those 5 categories are layout, experience, theming, operation, and location. So the Smiler is a Gerstlauer Infinity style roller coaster. In fact, this was Gerstlauer's first Infinity style roller coaster that they ever made. This roller coaster has a top speed of 52 miles per hour and has 14 inversions. So jumping straight into the layout. The layout on the Smiler is a technical marvel. It really is. How they managed to fit 14 inversions in the footprint that the Smiler takes up still amazes me. So I feel like if the Smiler's layout was any longer, if it stretched into the Enterprises area, for instance, I really feel like it would be too long. I feel like it's in a Goldilocks zone, you know, it's not too short, but it's not too long, and I like that. So there are 2 sections on this roller coaster. The first one is you come off the first lift hill and you complete that section, and the second section is as you come off the vertical lift hill and complete that section and back into the station. So there are 2 corkscrews before you come back into the station on this roller coaster that I really don't like. I feel like the roller coaster takes these corkscrews at too much speed and you end up whipping round, especially if you're sat on the 2 edge seats. It's even worse if you're sat on the 2 back carriages of this train. Again, I just don't like these corkscrews. But saying that, there are 2 lovely bits of airtime on this roller coaster. The first is in the first section and the second is in the second section. And I tell you what, every time I hit those airtime hills, I absolutely love it. So it's a technical marvel, one that only Alton Towers could really have pulled off. And they did it with grace. And I tell you what, the Smiler's layout has aged nicely. I feel like compared to some other parks, especially in America and Europe, again, it's just one that Alton Towers could have only pulled off in the space and the restrictions that they had. So for the Smiler's layout, it gets a 4 out of 5. So now we're moving on to experience. As you enter the X Sector themed area of Alton Towers, the Smiler is on the right hand side, and boy, it looms over you and it looks really menacing. Every time I walk into the X Sector and I look to my right, again, the Smiler is just looming over you. It's just this big, huge black structure of tangled steel, and I absolutely love it. It really gives you a good impression as you walk into this area. Also, the queue for this ride is underneath the layout itself. So if you didn't know, the Smiler is built into a hole on the former black hole site, and the queue is at the bottom of this hole itself. It is a cattle pen queue, so you are walking around a lot of twists and turns, and the queue is quite long. There is an extended queue line at the top of the hole itself, but again, that's only really used for extremely busy days. So one thing I will say about the experience on this roller coaster is, for me personally, when you're queuing for a long time, which is most of the time anyway, do expect to be queuing a long time for this roller coaster, the music for me gets quite old quite quickly. Now again, that's not because the music's bad. Again, this is one of the best soundtracks to a roller coaster in my opinion. I just feel like it grates on you if you are waiting 60 minutes plus. Now moving on to when you get on the ride, I don't like sitting on the edge seats of the Smiler. I do prefer to sit on the right, then the left, and I don't like sitting sitting on the 2 back rows of the Smiler. I much prefer to either be in the front row or the second to front row. Now this is because when you're traversing the layout itself, the Smiler can get very rough. So if you've seen mine and Charlotte's vlog, on the 8th of September, me and Charlotte went to Alton Towers and we ridden the Smiler, and it was unbearably rough. You were being thrown from side to side, and I really didn't find it an enjoyable experience. Now again, on the topic of experience, one last thing I will mention is I really wish that the Smiler had lap bar restraints. Because it doesn't have lap bar restraints, for me it's a little bit uncomfortable, especially when you do get a rough ride on the Smiler. Your shoulders really press into the restraints that are holding you in. So again, I really wish this did have lap bar restraints, and Gerstlauer do lap bar restraints on their Infinity roller coasters, so please Alton Towers, make this something that comes in the future. Now in my opinion, the package overall for the experience on the Smiler is good, but not great. That's why I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. Again, I feel like there are roller coasters that give a worse experience than the Smiler, so that's why I'm going so easy on it with this rating. Now moving on to the theming, this is a really interesting point for me. So the Smiler is themed to the Ministry of Joy, a government ministry designed to give people a smile. So the Smiler is a correctional device used to correct people with a frown. It superseded the Sanctuary Clinic, which was run by Dr. Kellman. So it's no secret that I love the body horror aspect of this story. It's too bad that that is not displayed in a pre-show before you get on the roller coaster. So wrapped around the Smiler's layout, there is a huge spider-like structure called the Marmalizer. This structure has a 360-degree screen that displays a series of videos and images, just really getting you hyped and prepped for the ride before you go on. Again, there's some pretty interesting things displayed on this that I really like. As you head into the Smiler's station, you go into the optical procedure facility. So in this optical procedure facility, there is a lot of projection mapping on the walls. It's too bad that over time this has fallen into disrepair. A lot of the projectors aren't on, and if they are on, they are misaligned, really ruining the effect for me. So I really feel like the optical procedure facility was a huge missed opportunity. I really feel like there could have been a great pre-show in there instead of all the projection mapping, but that's just my opinion. So as you walk up the stairs and get into the Smiler station itself, it's heavily themed. The staff are wearing Smiler themed uniforms. There are almost like surgical lights projecting and flashing onto the trains as you depart from the station. And there are different scriptures on the walls depicting the Smiler's story. So before you get onto the Smiler's lift hill, on the left and the right hand side, depicted in big yellow writing is the words haha, and you can hear people laughing to sort of like a beat as you go up the lift hill. For me, again, adding to that story, I really like this. Again, I keep saying this, I really like the Smiler's body horror and like psychological aspects of things. But again, I really feel like it adds to that story that the Smiler has, and again, it's just something that I really like. Now, before you go up the Smiler's vertical lift hill, there used to be 2 screens depicting body horror images. Unfortunately, these aren't there anymore as of the 2020 season. Also, before the tragic Smiler crash, there was also halfway corrected written on the left and right hand side of the roller coaster itself, but sadly that was taken away. Now, one little detail that I really like about the Smiler as you come back into the station is if you look at the left-hand side, it says you belong to the Smiler in sort of smeared writing. It makes you feel like you're a bit disorientated, and I really, really like that. So again, the theming elements have degraded over time. I really love the story, but this roller coaster definitely could have benefited from a pre-show. That's why I'm giving the Smiler a 3 out of 5 for theming. So operations is an interesting one on the Smiler itself. So the Smiler usually runs 3 or 4 train services. So the least amount of trains that I've seen this run as a service is 3. So unfortunately, the Smiler does get queues in excess of 60 minutes. I tend to only ride the Smiler if it has a 60-minute or below, but there are exceptions to that rule. But I just don't know why the Smiler gets queues this long, even on less busier days. One thing I will say is the Smiler staff do an amazing job at getting the throughput right on this roller coaster. In my experience, I've not been sat in the station for more than 2 minutes. The staff have always made sure that my harness is down, other people's harness is down, and the previous riders have left the station. Again, I've not really waited in the station more than 2 minutes when boarding this roller coaster. Now, one thing I wanted to mention about the operation is when the trains dispatch at the right time, the Smiler duels at multiple points in its layout. And when it does duel, it really offers for some great photo opportunities, especially when it's Scarefest and late night riding is available. When you look at the trains duel on the Batwing and Cobra Head element, they just look fantastic. So whilst I don't think that the Smiler is a queue eater, again, the staff really do try and get these trains out as soon as possible. But unfortunately, I'm only going to give the Smiler a 3 out of 5 for operation. If it wasn't for the fact that the Smiler runs a 3 to 4 train service consistently, I would have given the Smiler a 2, to be honest with you. So now we're on to the location. The Smiler is located at Alton Towers in Staffordshire. In the park itself, it's to the right of the beautiful Towers ruins. The Smiler offers for some great viewpoints around that area. So if you stand close to the battle galleons on the left-hand side, as you walk towards the towers, you can see it on the right. So before you go into the entrance to the towers, to go to the Dark Forest, you can see it on your right. This roller coaster really is, in my opinion, one of the most visible roller coasters in the park. So I've mentioned this already, but the Smiler is on the former Black Hole site, next to Oblivion in X Sector. And man, this roller coaster really does take up a small amount of land. I'm really surprised that they managed to get a roller coaster of the Smiler's caliber in this size land, because, you know, if you compare it to other roller coasters that have, say, 10 or 9 inversions, those take up a much bigger footprint than the Smiler. And you've got to think the Smiler has 14 inversions. So because I have no faults with the Smiler's location, I am going to give this a 4 out of 5. Again, it's easily accessible, and from where the Smiler sits, you can get some great viewing points of this roller coaster. So looking at the final score, the Smiler gets an overall iCoaster score of 17. I followed the Smiler since its construction in 2013. I really do feel like it is a great roller coaster and it's still technically impressive. But again, I feel like it is aging a bit poorly now, and unfortunately, it's still not managed to shake its reputation of being the ride that had that horrific crash in 2015. If you're looking to ride the Smiler, I definitely would, but I wouldn't queue over 70 minutes for it, especially in the state that it's in now. If you're looking to come from a different country to ride the Smiler because you've heard that it's got 14 inversions, I definitely would do so. Alton Towers Resort is a fantastic park. It's my local park, and it's a park that I hold close to my heart. So again, guys, this has been my review of the Smiler roller coaster at Alton Towers Resort in Staffordshire. If you've liked the video, please click that like button down below, hit that subscribe button, and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a single video. So again, guys, I've been Ryan from iCoaster, and I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.